Juan Francisco Estrada versus Jesse Bam Rodriguez, 12 rounds in the 115-pound division. I wanted to do this one a little bit differently than the normal kind of breakdown video. It's more of a conversational breakdown I like to do sometimes just to switch things up. But let's get the pleasantries out the way. Let's get the records out the way. Estrada, 44 wins, 3 losses, 28 wins by knockout. Bam, 19 wins, no losses, 12 wins by way of knockout. This is a big fight for both men, I think, at pinnacle stages in their career for different reasons. If Bam wins this fight, this surely puts him on a bigger platform globally. I'd like to think his name gets across a little bit heavier, holds a little bit more weight to it. And I think this puts him in the pound for pound list, in my opinion. For Estrada, he's already the champion, but I think a win for him, I feel like, makes that argument in the pound for pound list creep up a little bit more as well too. But that also puts him in this spot of being the best in the division, in his era, in his generation. You know what I'm saying? Like putting him above the names of a Roman Gonzalez, right? Above the names of a Carlos Quadros and a Siscaret Sarung Visai. He's gotten wins over those guys, but there are some close, especially with Gonzalez, that it's been some close fights. And when they step into the ring, you're not sure how it's going to play out, how it's going to unfold. But a win against Bam, I feel like, puts him in that conversation by himself, if that makes sense, especially when it comes to the older crop of fighters in his category. Estrada is now 34 years old, which means that, he's not old in the grand scheme of things by no means. 34 years old is a young man, young woman, whatever the case is. 34 is a lot of life left to live, but 34 years old inside of the ring is a little bit differently because, put it this way, going into this fight, the moment Estrada walks into the ring, man, that's his 48th professional fight compared to a younger Bam who's in his 20th fight. So when we look at who's fresher and who's been in less wear and tear type of fights, it's certainly Bam Rodriguez. Estrada has fought Chocolatito Roman Gonzalez 3 times. He's 2-1 against him. He lost the first fight and then won the other 2 fights, but they were both close fights, heavy volume of punching, war type of fights. And personally, if they ever fight a 4th time, whether he wins the fight against Bam or he loses the fight against Bam, I'm going to sign up to watch that fight all day, every day, because whenever they get into the ring, it's an explosive fight. It's an exciting fight and a fight that you can't really pass up. He fought Carlos Quadros twice, beat him in 2017 by decision, then comes back a couple years later, 3 years later to be exact, and then stops him in the 11th round. He's fought the heavy-handed Siscaret Sarung Visai. Lost to him in 2021 in a close fight and came back a year later and got his revenge, and he got the decision victory. So when it comes to fighting the best, Estrada has done that, right? When it comes to beating the best, Estrada has done that as well. But on the other side, when you look at Bam and you watch his rise, you could always kind of see the potential. You could see the talent. You could see the skill, right? He's one of my favorite boxers personally, because of everything that he does inside of the ring, man. It just looks effortless. Everything is so fluid, right? It's smooth. And I'm a guy that likes angles, man. I like footwork, and he's got all of that. The speed, the fluidity of how I've always appreciated the movement and the speed of boxers, of how, they can jump in 1 second, get their shots off, then jump back out or step aside and let off a couple more shots and then jump back and get out of range, all in what can seem like a simultaneous sequence. Coming from my background, if you've been watching the breakdown since the beginning, I'm a track and field guy. I come from the sport of track and field. So biomechanics and body movement, when it is executed at the high level, man, it is poetry in motion. And that's one of the things that I like about Bam Rodriguez's movement is poetry in motion at the elite level. But Perhaps what I like about him the most is his willingness to take that risk. When he took the fight against Carlos Cuadros, man, on short notice, if I remember correctly, everyone was saying, man, maybe this young man jumped into this fight a little prematurely. It was a step up fight. And you can make an argument as to why that could be true. It might have been true. And even how he was fighting that fight, man, his trainers were saying, man, like, be smart. Don't fight emotional. Don't stay in the pocket longer than you need to. Be careful. This guy can punch. He's very skilled. And you can tell that Bam cared, but he didn't care at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't afraid of getting hit. He wasn't afraid of staying in the pocket longer if he needed to. He wasn't afraid of the danger. He fought with a confidence and a maturity that showed a belief in himself. And I mean, he took it to one of the top guys and showed that he belongs in the division and in his name being talked about in a way as whether it's 112 or 115, like, I can be one of the best there. And then he goes on to face the heavy-handed 46 knockouts, Siscaret Sarung Visai. And to that point, man, that was the best version of Jesse Bam Rodriguez that I've ever seen to that point. You want to talk about a complete fighter? That was a complete performance, man. You could also see he was turning into a guy that was not afraid of the big stage and a guy that seems to relish in that big moment, man. It was a spectacular performance. And on the night, he was a step ahead of Siscaret Sarung Visai in every category. Siscaret Sarung Visai is known to be a guy that knocks cats out. 48 knockouts. He is known to knock cats out. And Bam Rodriguez seemed like he was the bigger puncher in that fight. Bam seemed like he was having so much fun in that fight. His speed was better. His power looked like he was the bigger puncher. The IQ seemed like he was the smarter guy. The hand speed, everything else on the night showed why he is one of the best. Doesn't matter what the age is. His skill set and his talent level puts him there right now. It was a complete performance for me that I've seen of Jesse Bam Rodriguez at that time. Going back to Estrada, before he fought Gonzalez in the trilogy, he fought RG Cortez. And I remember watching that fight and thinking to myself, man, is Estrada slowing down a little bit, because Cortez is a good, solid fighter, but he's not on the level skill-wise as Estrada to me personally, but Cortez was kind of outworking him a little bit, man. He was kind of giving Estrada some work. Cortez was coming there to win the fight, and Estrada had to turn it on late, and he was able to get the win. But it was a struggling fight for Estrada, to me, in my opinion. But Bam had a similar performance like that when he fought Israel Gonzalez. He didn't look great in that fight either. And quite frankly, he looked tired. And then from watching interviews, he didn't really want to take that fight. It's more of his team wanted him to take that fight because, when you have an opportunity to fight Canelo or fight on his card, it's a great opportunity for his viewers to see you too. And so it wouldn't be the greatest business decision to turn down that fight because of the eyes that it can bring to you. And so even though Bam won that fight, it wasn't a great performance. It looked like he was tired, and Gonzalez was giving him some work a little bit, but Bam flipped the switch late and he was able to get the win. He was able to get the nod. But also in any sport, it's like this in track and field, and it's like this in boxing. When you come off an extreme high, more times than not, your next fight, your next performance isn't going to be extremely stellar. It's going to be decent, but it's not going to be the same because human emotion, human body, after great performances, sometimes you don't put forth the greatest one. And on the night, it seemed like Bam got that out of his way. Now, when Estrada's most recent performance was against his rival, Roman Gonzalez, aka Chocolatito, a guy that he knows very well, in another action-packed volume fight. Estrada did a very good job in this fight. I felt like fighting off the back foot and trying to handle and weather the storm of Chocolatito. Chocolatito was coming forward every round with heavy pressure, and he was letting his hands go, man. I mean, from every single angle, right? I didn't even think that he cared too much about what was coming back at him. Like, that was kind of the mentality it seemed like Chocolatito was having, that reckless abandonment, so to speak, because Estrada did a great job of staying composed, staying controlled, and getting behind his jab and slipping in shots from in close and then getting off of the ropes. In previous fights before when they fought, Estrada found himself stuck on the ropes and Chocolatito would steal the momentum and rip to the body and outwork him whenever he would get stuck on the ropes. But I mean, on the night, personally, Estrada, the younger man by a few years, just looked sharper. You know, his jab was a little better. He was moving his head off the line and not staying stagnant, being cognizant of where Chocolatito was, but most importantly, where he was inside of the ring. And it was just a better improvement in how Estrada was fighting, staying off of the ropes, making sure that he wasn't a sitting duck, and making sure that he too was distributing power and distributing punches, and he was landing shots of his own too. And so all in all, Estrada to me on the night was just better. He was the better man on the night. He moved a little better. His shots were a little bit more effective. His movement was better. He was more precise, more accurate. You know, he made himself tough to hit, especially by using his footwork. And he just fought a disciplined, calculated, control fight to me. He looked great, well-conditioned, because he fought off the back foot most of that night. But when the fight ended, it seemed like he could go more rounds if he needed to. Now, going to Bam's most recent performance against Sonny Edward, I mean, that was another statement performance, man. Both undefeated fighters, both champions, unifying the division. But Sonny Edwards, you know, hats and credit to him because he fought a much more different fight than the fight that we're accustomed to seeing him. You know, Sonny Edwards is not known to be a big puncher. He's a pure boxer through and through. Great footwork, great boxing skill, not a big puncher. But in the interview that I seen of him, and I'm sure you've seen it too, he said, man, I know I'm not going to come down there and just to be able to box, I got to be more offensive. I got to be on the front foot. And that's exactly what he did. He showed that, man, I can adjust my style, even if it is a little bit uncomfortable, I can adjust it and I can fight a different style. And even though Sonny lost the fight, I felt like we gained a lot more respect for him. I don't want to speak for you, but I gained a lot more respect for him because he was doing every single thing that he could do to win the fight. And I don't think he could do anything different or anything more. He was just up against a guy who on the night just had everything going for him, man. Before, I thought Bam's best performance was against Siskaret Sarung v. Sai, but this performance was better. This was a level of calmness. Bam had a level of calmness to him where every shot was accurate and perfectly placed and perfectly timed. And it seemed like he didn't feel like Sonny could hurt him. So he was able to take more risk and come forward a little bit more. And he just looked very confident in the fight. Never looked worried, never looked flustered. Always seemed like he knew exactly what he was trying to do and where he was trying to find Sonny and get Sonny in the position he wanted him to be in. Every time Bam landed a shot, man, it seemed like it was leaving a mark on Sonny Edwards, you know? Thought Bam did a great job of being consistent with his jab and most importantly, cutting off of the ring and staying patient. And I felt like the pressure just started to wear Sonny Edwards down and Sonny was taking too much punishment past a certain point, man. You know, he stayed in the pocket a little bit too long and he tried to counter Bam with the left hand. But right when Bam did that and he tried to catch Bam with an exchange, but Bam was too quick on the night. And when Sonny was trying to put that right hand, Bam caught him with the left. Beautiful exchange, beautiful time shot, and it was over with. You know, Sonny would get up, but man, you could see it just wasn't looking too good for him. It was only going to get worse, and they ended up stopping the fight. But it was an excellent performance, and it was a performance, again, from Bam, where it was supposed to be a tough fight. And I'm not saying he made the fight look easy by no means, but the fight looked like it was one of those fights where I'm actually better than you guys think that I am. And when you say it's supposed to be a tough fight, I'm going to make sure that you see why it won't be a tough fight. And I thought it was a very good fight. You know, I would watch a rematch of those two. It was that type of excitement in the fight, but this was another complete fight from Bam Rodriguez. And again, it was another showing that the spotlight is never too big for me. And he seems to get better when the spotlight is brighter. So this is going to be a very good fight, man. I think both men look great in their last fight, and both men are going to continue that winning momentum and try and upset the other, so to speak. So who wins? Before I give my pick on this fight, I have something real quick to share. You know, I'm always looking to bring more light, more value, more opportunities for the community. I've been working on a few different things in recent weeks to not just grow the channel, but as I said, to continue to provide as much value as I can to each of you in our community. With that being said, I got some exciting news to share. I'm happy to announce my partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert. It's a great opportunity for you to join some of the best sports books to get the best odds and new user offer. All you have to do is head over to my dedicated page at signupexpert.com/the breakdown to explore a selection of sports books tailored to your region, each with its own unique offerings. So if you want to place a bet this weekend and on this fight and beyond, check out the link to find the best options for you in your region. Every sign up does support the channel, and it helps the channel grow and to expand and to create more opportunities, not just for me, but for our community. You know, I'm always looking out for you guys as best as I can. You can easily find the link in the description below this videos and videos moving forward. So get down there and check it out and find the best option for you. Now, let's get back to the video. Since Estrada's fight with Chocolatito, man, we haven't seen him in quite a while. We haven't seen him in 2 years. But that could also be helpful because he's able to recover his body a lot fresher as he's getting older. But that was another all-out war type of fight, man, that he was involved in. Bam hasn't had as many warms as Estrada has thus far. And the fights that we were supposed to see of Bam, that he was supposed to take, that was supposed to show us that the fights that might have him a little battered and a little bruised, he dominated those fights. Like, you know, I was expecting him to get touched up a little bit when he fought Siskaret Sarung Visai, but that wasn't the case. You know, Estrada's also an experienced guy, and he's already fought the top guys in the era, and he's beat them as well too. But I think he's got his hands full with the younger, fresher, more talented fighter in Bam, man, especially in the second half of the fight. I personally think the fresher and younger fighter is going to be too much, and I think Bam separates himself late in the fight. And I like Jesse Bam Rodriguez to win this fight by decision. Bam's already taken out 2 of the 4 horsemen, so to speak, of that division and that era, right? He's been sparring with Roman Gonzalez, and you know Chocolatito has passed the knowledge down to him because who knows Estrada better than Chocolatito? I just think, man, I think it's Bam's time. I think the younger fighter who hasn't been in as much wars with potential that is still trying to be reached, but for where he is right now, man, I mean, it's hard not to think that Bam is not going to rise to the occasion again and showcase why, whether it's 112, 115, that I'm one of the top guys here and moving forward, that it's my time. And I think he is going to show it in this fight. I like Bam Rodriguez to win this fight by decision. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear from you. How do you think this one goes? Who do you have winning? Let me know in the comment section below. I don't always get to do all the suggested videos you guys suggest in the comment section below, but if you become a member, those suggested videos rise to the top, and I will do my best to get those done for you that week. Or if you'd like to become a member just to show love and to support the channel, man, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated as well. Shout out to everybody that continues to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, man. I appreciate each of you. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next